Hi YouTube, it's Fifi. So I'm trying to take it a little bit easy and just like to have a little video prepared. I'm gonna just do a quick little playtest of my semi-competitive Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I don't have Snake Eye Fire King, and I'm currently working on like the actually good version of this deck. But today I'm playing Lightsworn Tearlaments, and my opening hand is really good. I've been sitting here doing some playtests, and I saw this hand, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a little playtest to show like some of the strengths of this version of the deck. This is before the new Lightsworn support comes out. There's no Weiss. There's no Dragon of the Lightsworn. There's no like real easy anything really. So as any good deck knows, you start with a special summon of Fenrir, and then I'm going to activate Fenrir's effect, which does unfortunately leave me open to Droll and Lockbird, but I guess I could have started with any of the other cards. This version of the deck sometimes just has hands that lose to Droll and Lockbird, but like this hand can play through Ash Imperm very easily. It's like, cool, you Imperm my Fenrir. I just get to add this off of Planet. My second card is Charge the Light Brigade. Unfortunately, they eroded this, so it doesn't send as part of the effect, it sends as the cost, so I don't get to activate the Scream. But I do still get to add the Raiden. One of the big benefits of this deck is I just get access to Tunus way easier than the traditional version of this deck, making Barona's stupid easy. I'll do a deck profile after for anyone interested in my list. It's currently 42 cards actually. So we'll normal the Raiden, and then I will activate its effect to send the top two cards of my deck to the graveyard. Fearless comes back, and I get to mill a card with Minerva, which specials the wolf. So the big issue with doing this is I've opened myself up to the possibility of being Nibiru'd, but, yeah, there's a lot of instances, like, I didn't expect to go over Wolf Fearless, right? And this is a free level 8. This is literally just, I get to make Dragite here, but I'm not gonna make Dragite here yet. I'm gonna activate, I actually don't want this Wolf. I just realized I don't want this wolf because I'm adding. So the card I add most is off of this planet is Sharon. Sharon is like the best card in the deck for whatever reason. So I'm gonna activate Sharon as a Chainlink 1 and Chainlink 2 special Tearlament's Cashier. I'm gonna banish this Fenrir as cost for the tier cache, which will special it here, and then this will go here, and I'll pitch this Hellshadal Hollow and mill 3 cards. And then I have a lot of effects. So we have this effect that I'm gonna put last on the chain, I think. So this will be chain link 1. I want this one to resolve no matter what. It could get called by it if this was the second turn, but since it's my turn 1, I can block most things. I want to guarantee I get a trap card, so this will be chain link 2. We can do chain link 3 here, chain link 4. Or Chainlink 3 here. No, Chainlink 3 here, Chainlink 4, because they could have Ash and Valor. I want to force them to choose between the two. So, like, you get so many chain blocking opportunities from just, like, the regular stuff. So, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4. So, we'll mill 3. There's Rhino Hearts we can't use, unfortunately. And then, oh wait, we have to mill 2 more. I milled over all 3 of my Rhino Hearts, which is really unfortunate. But we'll add the Sulic off the Scream, and then Hellshaw Hollow triggers. And one of the great things about this version of the deck is I have so many different attributes. If I had a copy of Pressured Planet Wraithsoth, it would just be great. Did I not shuffle well? I've milled over all three copies of Scream, all three Rhino Heart. I found both of my Raiden. I found two of my three Minerva. I found my like what is going on? And then I mill four. There's a wolf that we can't use. There's a Havness, which is really good. There's a Tear Cache, and there's a King of the Swamp. So we'll use Havness and Sharon to make a Garura. And then we bring this here. Or, yeah. And then we use Felis and Garura to make a Baron de Fleur. We draw a card off the Garura effect. I'll put this here to block that. I have no good way of extending from here. I could make Dragite, I have a bunch of options, right? I could make Dragite, I could make Minerva to try to dig deeper, but I have two names on the bottom of my deck. I do have a Foolish Burial Goods in my hand and a Trivikarma in the graveyard. So I could make Minerva, I could make Dragite, I could make Abyss Dweller if I thought that ending the turn here was the best idea. But I don't think I do. The Abyss Dweller is really good in this format right now. But those are my options. I have a lot of options. Activate Foolish Burial Goods, I think. Oh, wait, I don't have to do that. I have an idea. I have all three of my Scream. I could activate this Trivikarma. Do I have the other planet in my graveyard? Yeah, I'm gonna deck in a little bit. I'm gonna grab the other planet and have that as a option for next turn. And also just get it out of the deck, shuffle the deck up, so I can hit Sharon or Merle as options. Because I can just continue extending here. And then I will overlay into Minerva. I'll activate Minerva, pitching this wolf. Milling the top 3 cards of my deck. We hit Merle and Sharon, and a Felis. I don't think making Dragite is correct, but I do have a few options, right? No, you know what? I think that for the best end result here, I'm going to use both of these. And I'm going to use Sharon and King of the Swamp. To make my Rule Kalos. And then I'm going to use Merle. And Kalshadal Hollow. To make Kalshadal Window. And then I'm going to set the Soliak that I added earlier in the turn. So my end board is Banish, Floodgate, an Omni Negate, a Special Summon Negate, and a Monster Negate. This is pretty good. This is a pretty good end board, which, you know, it's cool and all. This deck is surprisingly consistent. I can do this pretty much every game, and it's fun. I didn't mean to do it with Flash. I like taking pictures of my end boards and sending them to my one friend who's like hyper competitive and being like, "Hey, what do you think of this end board?" And he'll be like, "That's pretty nice, bro." He's like hyper competitive, but like one of the nicest people I know, and like he's just great. So yeah, if you wanna if you wanna play the deck yourself, let me just take a second to fix up. Let's talk about like some of the pros and cons of this current list. So the pros are the Lightsworn of the deck is incredibly consistent because Charge of the Light Brigade Solar Recharge is amazing. Minerva chain blocks things like no tomorrow. It's great. Um, the tier stuff is powerful. There's a lot of decision lines you have every single game, so it can be very very rewarding. Like as a player who likes the who just in general enjoys how competitive the deck can be in spite of all of the things. It's like I'm kind of reinventing the wheel here, right? But at the same time, it's like okay, yeah, it makes sense in a weird way to be reinventing the wheel in this way. I'm just getting the deck together for a little deck tech and just kind of talking. Um, the deck's okay right now. Big issue. Doesn't play. Well, it plays okay through Shifter. I don't have the Baguska in the extra deck that I used to for specifically Baguska situations, but it hasn't. It doesn't really come up that often. It's really easy to get 2/4s on the table even through Shifter, which is weird, but it's like I hate Shifter. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of the card, but I've all of my decks are graveyard decks, so like, woe is me. I understand the necessary evil argument, even if I disagree with it. I'm trying to like get this in like a kind of acceptable part. This can go here in this pile. This to go here. This one goes here too. Alright, we have our 3 piles. Now I can start talking about my own personal deck list, the choices I make. Some of them are obvious, other ones aren't obvious. So let's go over the obvious ones. 3 copies of Rhino Heart. I also just like showing these off. My one friend I was talking about got me these for Christmas. I love my LT Rhino Hearts. And then obvious choices: 3 Rhino Heart, 3 Cash, and then the 2 Fenrir that uh go with the 2 Cash. It's basically I have 5 copies of 2 Cash. 2 Cash is kind of my best starter outside of Sharon. We have one of each of the fusers because we're only allowed to have one. I have 2 Silic, 1 Meta Noise, 1 Trivi Karma, and then I just didn't have the money for a third planet at the time that I built this deck, and then the 3 copies of Scream. And this is the Tearlaments slash Castillo half of the deck. This part of the deck, super consistent, super good. Um, Laying this out makes me realize how much smaller of an engine this is than I initially thought. Because this is 5, 8, 11, 14, 16, 18, 20, 21. So it's only about half the deck is tier cards. Which is surprising to me, but like every tier deck is like kind of laid out like this. Right? Some of them, you'll have 3 planets, maybe 4. You'll run 1 Wraithsoth sometimes to grab the Fenrir. But then, for my next cards, I'm running 3 copies of Minerva. Uh, it's one of the better cards to mill over because it doesn't matter how it gets to the graveyard. As long as it gets to the graveyard from hand to deck, you get to mill one. It chain blocks. It stops a lot of things. Worst case scenario, right? I've had games where I special Fenrir, normal Minerva, make a Baron, and pass. That's one of my plays I can make under Abyss Dweller. Having a level 3 tuner is great. I had Ash in the slot for a bit, but then it just kind of felt like I'd rather have a card that when milled over does something, because I'm milling a lot, as you can tell. I have 2 copies of Felis. Whenever I do switch to the Destiny Danger Tearlaments, I'm still going to run this card just as a free level 4 tuner that I can still make Baron with. I have 2 copies of Wolf. Wolf is okay. Wolf kind of facilitates a lot of rank 4 plays, but the reason I run 2 of both of these is because these cards are dead draws. There's literally nothing you can do with them in your hand other than discard them to Sharon or Solar Recharge. And then I have 2 copies of Gaiden. It's tutorable off charge of the Light Brigade, and it's like I don't want to normal summon it because having normaling Rhino Heart and finding another Rhino Heart gets me Bahamut Shark, which gets me totally awesome. And then for the spells, 2 copies of Solar Recharge, 3 copies of Charge of the Light Brigade. So it's like having 5 copies of Raiden in the instances I need it. It can get me a Minerva if I already had a Raiden in hand to pitch to the Sharon, so I can have an extra. So Sharon mills 4. If this card wasn't errata, this would be the best card in the deck because it just mills 3. But because it's a cost, I don't get all of the tier effects. So I also just planned on building Lightsworns whenever the support comes out next month. And then for the last stack of cards, we have the cards that aren't an archetype. 1 Helshadal Hollow, 1 Squamata that is essentially a second copy of Hollow for the graveyard, 1 Beast, 3 copies of King of the Swamp so I can make Rukalos and Grapha, 1 Terraforming, and 1 Foolish Burial Goods. Both of these cards serve the same purpose. Terraforming grabs planet. Foolish Burial Goods can send Trivy Karma, which grabs planet, but it's also just a little bit more versatile. I've thought about running 2 Foolish Burials instead of 1 Burial Goods, 1 Terraforming. But for the most part, this is just how I'm running the deck. I don't really know how to talk about like numbers and stuff like that. Like I've done plenty of testing with 3 copies of all the Lightsworn cards, 3 without the Shadal package. I've done tests with like no Charge the Light Brigade, 1 Charge the Light Brigade, 2 Charge the Light Brigade. I've done playtests with different numbers of Minerva. That's been pretty good. And then and these are just the numbers I came up with after months and months and months of testing. And the new support's going to be great. But as with every modern Yu-Gi-Oh deck, we have an extra deck too. My extra deck is pretty straightforward. A lot of it is going to look the same as a lot of other Tearlament decks. A little bit's going to be different because of my easier access to 2 new monsters and level 4 Xyz monsters. So I start off Rukalos, really good right now. It stops Poplar, it stops Flamberge, it stops Promethean Princess. It's overall really good right now. We have the one Kaleido Heart. If you have Planet on the field, this answers 2 cards. Can answer more because you can pop itself and send itself to the great. You pop itself with the planet, and then it comes back and it makes another monster. You can make a Dragon's Stapelia, you can make a window, you can make a lot of other things. Some 2 combos will literally just make this and pop it at the end to add select. We have the 1 copy of Winda because Fire King doesn't really have a good answer for Winda. Their only answer is Imperm. And if they don't have Imperm, they can't really deal with a resolved Winda as long as you summon it to the correct zones. I didn't in that quick play test. I wasn't thinking about like future lines whenever I summoned the 2 cache, but whenever I summoned the Baron, I summoned it in front of the 2 cache without thinking about the potential of making a Winda. So that would open me up to them normal Snash, or it's normal Poplar, or normal Garunix, and then, Ponix, and then make Relinquish Anima to steal the Winda. But for the most part, you just play smart and they can't answer the Winda. I have 1 copy of Grapha. Grapha is just overall a good card in this deck. And then I have the Super Poly package of. I gotta move this a little bit to the side. Mudragon and Garura. I make both these cards. I make all 3 of these cards consistently. I make Mudragon with any of the 2 names and either Beast or Squamata. This is a water, so I can very easily go into Bahamut Shark. It's a level 4, so I can very easily go into like Abyss Dweller or like I can go to Minerva if I want to extend more. I can go into a plethora of other cards, and later on, like if I make Bahamut Shark as my first, if like I go, Sharon Mill 3 hit Beast plus Merly, make Mudragon normal, Rhino Heart, send to your Cash Mill 2, and then make Bahamut Shark. I can pitch this to make the Dragon's Stapelia, which is really good. And then, as you saw there, the Garura with any level 4 just as a free Baron. It draws a card too. It's just really strong with the Lightsworn cards. And then for my synchro monsters, I have a copy of Dragite. This card is almost always live. I have 3 King of the Swamp, 3 Rhino Heart, and 3 Tearlaments cast here that turn on the negate. And sometimes I just mill over a Wolf and a Felis and don't. And if I've already fused it, there's no point to go into the Minerva. If I've already done a lot of like the normal stuff and I just mill those 2 as my last 2 cards, and I can just make this for free. I make this sometimes versus specific decks, like if I'm against Sky Striker, shutting off spells and traps sometimes is just really good. I have 1 copy of Baron. I don't think I need to explain this card. This card's just amazing. It's been amazing for years. I picked this up for cheap. This is my ulti Baron. I got it for like $5. I love how cheap it is. And then for the last, I only have 1 Link Monster. My only Link Monster is a copy of Cross Sheep. I don't have the money for SP Little Knight. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't foresee myself spending $140 on a card. And then for my Xyz monsters, I have the Bahamut Shark package of Bahamut Shark and Toad. I have Abyss Dweller right now. Amazing card. It's good versus Voiceless Voice. It's good versus Tear. It's good versus it's really good versus Snake Eye Fire King. Right, the best deck in the format. So if your card is good versus Snake Eye Fire King, which, as I said, like I have 3 cards in this. Like Rukalos, Abyss Dweller, and Winda are all amazing versus Snake Eye Fire King. I had all 3 of these on my end board versus them the first time I played against them, and they couldn't deal with it. And then I have 1 copy of Time Thief Redoer. A neat little thing you can do is if say you have like, I don't know. Let's pull out. Say you have a Wolf and a Sharon. You can overlay it into the Time Thief Redoer, activate its effect, and the effect sends, not the cost. So you can fuse with the Sharon whenever you pitch it to the Time Thief Redoer. It doesn't come up super often, but it comes up often enough that it just feels worth it to mention. And then the last card I have, you saw it. There's a Minerva in here. Minerva works great with this deck. It mills 3 cards. It's just overall a good thing. And unlike the last time I did a little deck tech video, even though that's not doing well right now, I'm going to actually show you my side deck. I have a side deck for this deck. Really easy start. 1 copy of Crime. You know, 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster. I have the Medora and Keldo on the side. Without Hellbeck and Agito, these are like kind of okay, but they're not the best. I have 2 copies of Ghost Bell. I'm thinking about running a 3rd one. And then I talked about Super Poly packages. This is why I talked about Super Poly packages. I have 3 Super Poly on the side. And then 3 copies of Nibiru. And 3 copies of D-Fissure. You can, if you D-Fissure versus the Voiceless Voice deck, or like there's a bunch of decks that like I see at my local card shop. Like there's a Dragoon Turbo deck, and you just go, oh, here's a D barrier. I name Fusion. You can't make your Dragoon. Oh no. But for the most part, like it's here for Voiceless Voice. You can D barrier Ritual and just be fine. The Ghost Bells are there for Snake Eye Fire King. Like all 3 of these cards are really good versus Snake Eye Fire King. And like versus Snake Eye Fire King, I'm like going on the play. I'll probably do like these 6 on the play, and then on the draw I'll take the Crime out, but have the 3 copies of Nib. And for just like a little bit of like insight as to how I side with this deck, people are gonna disagree to all hell with me, but it's whatever. So I mostly cut on the Lightsworn cards. I usually cut 1 to 2 Minerva and a Solar Recharge. Solar Recharges get worse with with less cards, and 1 of the copies of Charge of the Light Brigade. So this gets me the 3 Nib, the 2 Ghost Bell, and then I usually cut like I cut the Terraforming next, and then 1 of the King of the Swamp sometimes if I really need to like dig into my extra deck for multiple cards. And that's just kind of like my thought process. Is I start with 2 Minerva, and then I cut the Solar Recharge, and then like this. Yeah. That lasted half an hour. I didn't expect this to last half an hour. So yeah, if you watched this, thank you so much for watching. I like Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not good at this game, right? I'm not that good at this game. I probably misplayed or did something I wasn't allowed to in the actual playtest, and if I did that, I'm sorry. Feel free to correct me. But, yeah, I'm having fun with this deck, and I wanted to share it. Thank you for watching.